everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. Acacia Clement. I got it.
You
I did.
paused
I
there,
tried.
but
I
you
was
were
close.
ready. You were ready.
I was close. It's the C. It's your fault.
Yeah.
It's not mine.
Yeah.
It's you. It's not me. And I'm Andy Serling. Anyway, looking
It's never
forward to
your
a
fault.
fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the most important part. Looking forward to a fun Saturday here. It's a beautiful day out here at Bell. We got very lucky. I mean, we got a little bit of rain yesterday, but there was talk of a lot of rain. It never came, and so we're fast and firm.
You know, I actually played a good game yesterday because I was up on the set early and then it started really raining and Richie was down in the paddock and I had to bring out the rain gear. And by the time I went out for the last 3 races, it had stopped raining. So
That's
I
why
got
he
lucky.
seemed grumpy yesterday because he got the rain and you
He
didn't.
got the rain and I didn't.
I'm
So it
wondering.
was actually very fortunate.
You had
But
the-
don't worry, there'll be plenty of days when I am stuck out in the rain in Saratoga, I'm sure.
You had the blanket out yesterday. What was up with that?
It got cold.
Whatever.
Okay, there is no place windier
This
than the
is-
3rd floor
it-
at Belmont Park.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. As many of you probably know from times past here, and I've been around so long. I remember before they put the windows and the doors in, sort of up here, and it just used to be.
Oh, it was just all open.
The first year I was cutting the charts out, and I have those old charts. I guess '74. They raced until the middle of November here at Belmont. Must have been. And they'd have 17,000 on a Thursday. Anyhow, head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code bonus200. We'll match with $200 of your initial deposit. Who is that? Oh my
Classic-
gosh!
your man,
It's Classic
Classic
Causeway,
Causeway.
who's shipping over 3,000 miles to run dead last at 150 to 1.
He just says, please, please, one day run me one turn on the dirt.
I mean, he could have shipped
We
here
wish him
and
the
run with
best.
John
We wish him the
Nehru and had a
best.
chance to be a Grade 1 winner in the
They,
dirt.
I think they made that slate just for you, Andy. Just as a reminder that he's
Yeah.
a Grade 1 winner here at
I
Belmont.
like Classic Causeway. I
like him
feel
too.
sorry for him going over there. It's the dopiest thing I've ever seen. Why would you do it? By the way, the Prince of Wales' Ascot next week is coming up super tough.
It's a very tough
It's
race.
a
yeah,
super
very
tough race this year. Anyway, he's a non-contender, but you'll be able to see him, and he'll be able to see them all. Anyway, we've got the $25 bonus. You bet $75 each on Belmont, Ellis Park, Santa Anita as well, and you'll earn $25. Win, lose, or draw. Opt in for that.
Who's that?
It's a Klarovich runner.
I know
What do
that.
you think? Could it be Search? Nah.
No. Early voting? No. Who has the little snip like that? I don't know. We're gonna have to look into this.
It's
a little
not
bit.
market segmentation from the other day. It's
No,
too quick,
no,
right?
she's darker. Yeah. We'll have to figure that out.
Yes, I'll get on that. Well, she doesn't have a saddle cloth that says Classic Causeway, so anyway, it's a good thing that horse doesn't. Middle pick 4, the horse was a Klarovich horse, would not be running the Prince of Wales. In fact, would be running. Well, probably would have won the Carter already, but that's a whole other story. That starts in race 4 of our 10-race card today. We also have, we got the free-to-play games. They're here. They're here. Go to free2play.nairabets.com. Real prizes, no registration required. Father's Day tomorrow. Always a fun day here. Happy to see it's going to be good weather. Always like to have good weather for Father's Day. Lots of good stuff coming here, including that duffel bag giveaway that Greg Wolf was modeling yesterday. You didn't
Yes.
have some modeling envy, did you, when he was doing that?
But Paul and I did some modeling up on the set here. We were channeling our home shopping network.
Really?
They zoomed in, and I have to say I have a lot more credit for what they do there. Unzipping the bag while demonstrating it nicely for the camera is a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I'm, most things that you see people doing on television, except our jobs, are harder than they look. Anyway, finally, last but not least, so we're 1-2 on if this isn't confusing to you, 1-2 on FS2, 2-4 on FS1. 45 minutes will be on some regionals as well as YouTube, and then we're back on FS2 for the last hour and 15 minutes. So I guess we'll kind of only miss the 7th race, I'm thinking, something like that. Anyway, all right, race number 1, we are on the grass. These are 3-year-old maidens. And I'll show a distant 3rd place finish by Beer Run to start it off, a horse that I picked on top. You don't like this horse at all. I don't know. Maybe I just copped out. This horse was chasing, charging, who ran very well from a far outside post. I don't like the didn't take much money, but I don't know. I just feel like they're probably overbet, but these Wesley Ward horses, they come here and they usually show up.
They do. Well, the thing with him, I thought, is that when he kind of swung out, he re-rallied when the outside horse kicked in. The winner was much the best in here, but I thought that he just kind of kicked on a little bit more. I thought John Velasquez, though, from the post did a terrific job of giving him a ground saving
agree.
trip that day. The fact that he didn't take much money in that race at Keeneland, maybe a little bit questionable. He absolutely could win. I just thought that this was a little bit intriguing race, and I've been waiting to play flat top box second time out and on the turf.
It's a tough name to say, isn't it?
Really
Johnny
is.
I's probably already
It's
looking at it
trickier
thinking
than you would
flat
anticipate
top
it
box,
would be. You have to
yeah.
kind of say it slowly. But he, my notes from him in his first race just said that he just didn't look fit. Kind of ran like a horse that wasn't fit. Kind of had his head up in the air a bit. And that was an off the turf race. They've worked him on the turf up at Saratoga a couple times since then. Clearly keen to get him on the grass, and he'll be a bit of a price, I think, in this race. And I like him second time out.
All right, I've got him in there. I do not have a particularly strong opinion on this race whatsoever. I have Tony Dutro's horse in there. I mean, looking up
You're
the
not gonna try
pedigree,
to say it?
Inspector Poirot.
Yeah.
I know how to say it.
Agatha
Come on.
Christie.
I saw Murder on the Orient Express, the original, with my grandmother. Probably actually, I know exactly where I saw it. I remember a lot of movies from the 70s. From seeing them in the city with my grandmother when I would come visit at the old Paramount Theater, which people remember. It was on Columbus Circle. It's where I'm not going to say, there's a tower there. It's where Jean Georges is now. And it was downstairs.
Yeah,
You went
I
to
was
the
just gonna ask you, is
circular
that the one you went
stairs.
downstairs?
Yeah, I
Yes,
love
yeah,
that
yeah,
theater.
yeah.
And I believe that's where we saw Murder on the Orient
Very
Express.
cool. Yeah.
I don't know if I ever saw Death in the Nile. They're remaking them
Right.
now, and they're remaking another one, right?
Well,
with
they're
Kenneth
just
Branagh.
remaking everything, you know.
Yeah, I love the original Murder on the Orient Express. Anyway, I actually watched a little of the new Death in the Nile, but I got bored. Agatha Christie. It is more of a distancy pedigree, which
It
I
is.
found it odd that Tony was running this horse short first time out. Maybe a little counterintuitive.
Well, it could be. I mean, Expert Eye won the Breeders' Cup Mile. His progeny in the U.S. are 2 for 3 with first-time starters, which I thought pretty interesting. He's a horse I always really liked.
It's a Juddmonte horse, right?
Yep. The Dam was a Group 3 winner in Dubai. This one sold at Goff's for about the U.S. equivalent of $60,000.
Cheap.
Which is typically on the lower side of the ones that we've seen Tony taking from Europe. But he's been picking up a lot more horses, both at Tattersall's and Goff's, for turf.
Well, I have a question about this one. Niall
Yeah.
Brennan owns this horse. Isn't he
Right.
buying horses there?
bought
so is
this
this one he
horse.
bought
He
that he ended
signed the
up
ticket for
keeping?
this horse,
He ended up
yes.
keeping. Now, a lot of times he's probably
Was he
buying
gonna
horses
try to
looking to
pinhook?
pinhook them or
That's
sell
what
them.
I was thinking, too.
Yeah, so I always
Yeah.
but you know, I'll tell you something. Look at
He's incredibly sharp, though.
look
Niall.
at
Got to give me a little something to work with here.
the bloodstock agent who I know who buys
Mike
horses,
Ryan?
Mike Ryan.
Yes.
Well, look at the horse that he has that ran second in the
Yeah.
in the stake last week.
Right.
Go under again. That's
Right.
a horse he probably bought to pinhook and didn't sell, and
Yeah.
she was one of the better. She's one of the better
Some of the
horses in the
later
crop.
developing ones you can't really sell as a 2-year-old. You kind of have to wait, maybe race them. But then if they're later developing, if you miss the sale, it actually is the best blessing in disguise.
Do you think it's a little scary that I just sort of said that? You knew it was Mike Ryan.
I
we're
told
like
you, I'm
we're like a
spending too
TV
much
married
time.
couple here. It
Well,
really is
Andy and I are
depressing.
going to be the new hosts
That's good for
of
me, bad
Wheel
for
of
you.
Fortune because Pat Sajak is retiring. So
But I'm
going
gonna be Vanna and she's gonna be
Andy,
Pat.
and she's the new Vanna
We're gonna have a
White.
whole
Yeah.
swapping type
Yeah.
thing there.
I don't know if Whoopi Goldberg thinks she's got a shot. We're obviously the right choice.
It's very clear that I'm planning to ride Acacia's coattails into my old age. What about the Tom Morley horse, America Know-How? They wanted to run this horse in the turf first time. I think they like this horse, too. Now they get to the turf.
I know. I really kind of kept looking back at this horse. It's been unfortunate they haven't had an opportunity to run on the turf yet. The blinkers go on, too, as it looked like last time he kind of loomed up with a chance to win and then wasn't able to kick on after that. I just narrowly preferred Fast Boat to Sky as far as a horse I wanted to put in the top 4. And I like this horse a bit cutting back because to me in his lone turf start, he ran like a horse that wanted to go a bit shorter on the grass. And that was actually what I wrote last time out. Better, shorter. Would love to see him sprint on the turf. So.
Yeah, I bet him that day. Maybe you're right. I didn't
Yeah.
like this horse. Neither of us have the Chad Brown horse in there, Mischievous Angel. I
Well,
don't know.
this
They
is
paid a
actually-
lot of money
he
for
was
this horse.
entered for a maiden 75. Do you
Was he?
remember that? Yeah, this
No, I
was
believe
the
you.
one who was entered back at the end of May for a maiden claiming for 75,000 and scratched. The Dan's the sister to Audible, which is I'm sure why he's so expensive. And with that
Oh.
pedigree, you're running on the turf, and that just
I
just
agree.
didn't know what to do with
And
it.
this is not a move. I think Chad Brown,
Yeah.
3-year-old first-time starters in turf sprints of 5.5 to 6 furlongs. Chad Brown's just 1 for 15.
Wow.
So
Wow,
it
surprising.
feels like that sort of fits the narrative that
Yeah.
you're describing there. Race number 2, we land on the same horse in race number 2, and since we have other replays, why don't you talk about Burning Honor, and I'll see if I have anything to add.
Well, I thought this one actually ran okay last time out. Jackie Davis is aboard. Katie Davis will climb back aboard today, too, keeping it all in the family. But one thing I didn't love is that she didn't switch leads, and she ended up getting run down. But I thought that she improved significantly getting back on the turf and coming back as a 3-year-old. She was always one that was really green, really kind of keyed up as a 2-year-old last year. And I thought that with the post last time, maybe second off the layoff, she'll still be a bit of a price, not the 46 to 1 that you got last time. But I thought she could take a step forward.
I thought she ran extraordinarily well last time, was a completely different horse
Yeah.
than she was last year. I mean, she moved wide and prematurely and blew the race open and lost to a horse, Succulent, who's just a lot better than these horses. And I thought she ran extremely well last time. The repeat of that performance would make her tough. And you go through the races like the Bomb Squad Splendid Run race. Okay, I know Bomb Squad got second. Talk about good rides. Joelle got this horse from an outside post right to the rail. And of the two, I far and away want the Splendid one because this was a super slow pace that the horse, look, he sort of wired the field, who was probably about 2 to 3 times the price he should have been. Actually, a horse that Sarah had picked on the show
Yeah, it was a
and
great
paid
call.
$60. And he made a lot of sense for a long shot. I didn't really like him. She liked him a lot more than I did, a lot more. But at the price, he was ridiculous. But I thought this Splendid one actually ran really well. I mean, it's not that, Junior did a good job. Not Junior, I'm sorry, it was Javier saving ground. But he also got a little shuffled out during the running of the race. And I thought he ran much better than Bomb Squad did.
He did.
Or she did, excuse me.
The Splendid one was the one who was closing late on the outside.
Yep.
Bomb Squad strikes me as a horse. She doesn't really have an acceleration. And I think that's why we saw her running the 9 furlongs last time, because Joel Rosario did everything right. There was lone pace in there, which was the Conquistador, who ended up winning and wiring the field. And he put her in kind of that stalking spot, and she just kind of ran even throughout. Do you know what I mean? She doesn't kind of have that turn of foot, so to speak.
And she's not going to work out a better trip today.
Right.
Where's Joel? Is he serving a day or something?
No,
or is
he's riding out of town, I
Okay.
believe.
Oh, maybe he's at Monmouth?
I think he's at Monmouth
Where's
today.
Pratt? Is Pratt serving a day? Or
It's Haskell Preview Day at Monmouth.
But I don't think Pratt's at
I don't
Monmouth.
think so. I think Joel's at Monmouth.
Because a couple people
today.
asked me on Twitter, and I noticed he wasn't riding. I don't think he's out in California. Do you think he's out there for the unveiling of Miramati?
I know, that's very exciting. He's gonna be here on Friday next week, Frank.
No, he's not.
The human.
No, he's not, actually.
not?
No, I'm going to be here instead.
But you're filling in
you're
for me
teasing
instead.
people. Yeah,
He's a big star.
No, he was going to come, but
Yes.
my goal and my dream is that Frank miscalls his own name. That's really my dream.
That's a very mean thing to
I'm
wish
a mean
on
guy.
him.
I love Frank. He's a great man.
I believe Flavian serving days. He's not listed on any
what
mountain
about
today.
starts now? I mean, I feel like starts now. I'm a little frustrated because I bet starts now last time, but I'm not sure that race wasn't good. I mean, the horse who won the race came back and finished 4th, improved the buyer figure 5 points. It was a first-time starter at $1,000,000 to 1. I mean, starts now got a great ride by Eric this day.
He did, and Eric did really well. Not
You're turning into
panicking.
me.
She.
You see what's going on
Okay,
here?
we need some separation, obviously. Eric did a great job with this filly starts now because he didn't panic at that point when he was trying to tip her out and she was kind of hanging a little bit reluctant on her left lead, and he angled her out. She switched leads and she kicked on, but she just wasn't able to catch the winner. And you could kind of look at that race and say, was she hanging a little bit? But given how that horse came back to run, I don't think that she was. I think she actually ran quite well in that spot. I had her second. I liked her over the horses coming out of that June 1st race.
And you and I both playing against Photon.
I tried her last
She
time.
may win
and now
someday.
I said the divorce papers are
Enough with her, and
fine.
they're so incredibly overbetting Irad at this point. It's unbelievable. It's like getting worse, and they're losing, and nobody's getting it. Race number three. Race number 3, I had no videos. You and I have the same pick. Have at it on O'Donnell.
Well, you just can't beat Ray Handel nowadays, huh? And this is a race where you've got some horses that just have had a lot of chances already. So I wanted the kind of new face in here. Thought that she actually ran okay last time out on the turf when she broke her maiden. She ran fine too back on the dirt against Maiden Special Weight Company. She has not run for a claiming tag before. The one thing about her is that she does not get out of the gate. So that's going to kind of be the key for her if she can be a little bit more mentally mature this year.
I also really like the field that she comes out of in her last dirt race. If you look up those horses, they all, pretty much all of them, or a number of them, really improved substantially. Unifying was a first-time starter, improved. The winner, Crypto Mama, improved substantially off that race.
And she was
so I
wide
think
in that
yeah,
race,
I think
too.
there's a real chance, though, that race was significantly better. And as you say, I mean, I want to bet against all Rosie Diamonds. I hate when Irad's getting scratched on a horse that I thought would be overbet, and I agree. I prefer this horse. Just others, we've seen enough of the others. Race number 4. Here's the million-dollar question. I'll put you on the spot in race 4 as we look at the last race with Yarrow. Now, I want bar 14 out of this race, and you have in front. But we'll get to that. I want to show the start because bar 14 is going to get left. And for a horse that's best forwardly placed, it's not particularly good that he gets left in this race. Now, I don't believe that this horse is going to be as far back as the pace figures suggest. I think could be more forward with Kendrick, who's very good at finding position. I mean, he even got good position with Maxwell Esquire the other day. Just wasn't good enough, but he did a great job of getting position. But my question for you is, where did Yarrow's speed come from, and are they going to be forward again with him? I mean, he got away with a slow first quarter in this race, but aren't they supposed to go again? He's not as fast as Phantom Smoke, but he could be sitting second, right?
I don't know how Yarrow ended up on the lead last time, but I wasn't mad at
Ran
it,
well.
that's for sure. I thought that Manny Franco kind of looked around and said, well, nobody else is going, and my horse is traveling out of the gate. Well, let me put him on the lead, and he finished second behind Running with Scissors, who would
best
come
race
back
he ever
to win
ran.
again, and it was a huge performance from him. And Yarrow was that kind of horse who would close and just barely get there. I mean, remember that photo at Saratoga when he just barely got up in time?
Yeah, no, he beat me.
And sometimes
But thanks.
I just love
You finished?
I just love bringing some good memories back for you.
He did. I bet on Neuro.
Sometimes
I always bet
horses
Neuro.
like that just barely get there or find a way to get beat, it's better to put them on the lead, and they don't have as many excuses late.
So I think we're finding interesting things the last couple of days. Yesterday, Christophe almost admitted that they ran that horse in the turf that won because Miguel wanted to run
did
the horse turf.
admit
He
it.
almost.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready to give him
did.
full credit. He
He
was just
did.
sort of hinted at in the
He said,
interview.
no, I thought she was
And-
more of a dirt horse.
And now,
Lentitude,
now
and
Manny
Miguel was on
Franco's
turf.
figuring out that this horse needs to be more forwardly placed. So basically, Christophe, you should listen to everybody but yourself. Whoever it is, just everybody else that's related to the horse. But I agree. I mean, and that's the thing I think now, I don't know. It's going to be very hard at the lead from the 6. Phantom Smoke is a faster horse.
Right.
But being forward certainly helped this horse, and you have to imagine you get the inside, you're supposed to go to it again. Now, we'll look at Roos, and this is we're going to go back to the last race that Roos ran. I beat on September 15th, finishing 3rd. My problems with Roos are twofold. I do think he's the best horse in the race. He never wins.
I know.
He never wins, and this is a trainer's horses usually need a race off a layoff.
I
0
know.
for 9 in the turf off 6 to 12-month layoffs.
So that's my big concern, and usually the Tim Hills horses do carry quite a bit of condition. I don't know if he's going to be necessarily fit enough coming back here. For some reason, I've just always really liked this horse, and I have a theory with him. I really think that he wants to go a little bit shorter. His lone sprint race on the turf was going 5 furlongs
actually
at
really good.
Gulfstream, and was actually a really good effort. And I spoke
5,
about this
no less.
yesterday with the Claceris horse that was cutting back in distance because his
Greg
lone
liked
sprint
that horse. That
races-
horse ran well.
Yeah, he ran well in second. His lone sprint races were going 5 furlongs at Gulfstream. And if you're just not quite quick enough to get into the race in those 5/8 race down at Gulfstream, you're completely put out of it. And I thought-
Considering who he is, that's a remarkable performance
I
for
thought
him
he
at
actually
5.
ran really
I
well.
agree.
So here, going the 7 furlongs, excuse me,
Seven's
he's always
perfect.
a really sharp type of horse, and I think this is the perfect distance for him. My concern is going to be the fitness off the layoff.
I love this horse. I think he's a really
too.
cool horse. I'm a big fan of
I
his
am
too.
too.
I
Yeah.
just he frustrates me because
know.
it doesn't win. I think Phantom Smoke's a little bit dangerous on the front end. I don't know if he can get 7, and I don't trust
That's
him.
my big
but
concern
he
with him,
is
yeah.
the speed in here. We'll see what happens. None of us. We have the 8/4 rough draft. I just thought he got such a perfect
He
trip
did.
last time,
He did.
and this was a tougher spot. But he is 2 for 2. Race number 5. Moore's Law had a as a minor issue. That's why he's out. It feels like something that he should be back soon. Moore's Law, look it up if you don't know what Moore's Law is. It's a cool thing. It's about the number of, is it gigabytes or something on semiconductors. It's a law
cool.
of them doubling over a period of time from somebody named Moore. Anyway, we moved on to race 5, guys. I think it's interesting that I seem to be the only person that likes Shreveport. You don't like this horse. David doesn't like this horse. Nobody. I really like Shreveport today. And the reason I really like Shreveport will become evident here. This was not good judgment, this ride. He's a horse that broke from an outside post in a period when the rail had been dead for quite a few days at Aqueduct. And for whatever reason, the rider decided to go right the fence. Not surprisingly, it wasn't hard to get there because nobody else wanted to be there. And the truth of Shreveport is that he spent almost the entire race on the rail. Now, I know Ride Up finished second this race, but Ride Up barely beat him. And what's interesting here is, and to sort of prove the point, he's just disappearing at this point in the rail and going to run nowhere. Well, now they came off the rail, and he kept running forward. And it almost makes you wonder if he hadn't been on the rail to begin with and he had stayed out in the middle of the racetrack with his outside post, might have been a very different result in this race. So I'm going to bet horses that ran reasonably well off dead rails, and I'm all in on Shreveport here.
That's fair. I just kind of had enough of Shreveport at this point. And
he's a little tiresome.
Yeah, the thing is I feel like he's just been a little bit of an underachiever from the beginning too. He's the full brother to Lake Avenue, and he's kind of one of those gray tappets that's always a little bit lacking focus, and you could even see it in that race too when Junior Alvarado did get him off the rail. He's a little bit quirky sometimes in his races, and look, he absolutely could run better here, and I'm not in love with taking Cloud Forest because he's definitely a horse
he's had his chances
he's had his chances as well.
We'll roll his last race and show it.
But I actually thought that he ran pretty well behind Power Numbers last time, and it was the two of them way ahead of the rest of the field. And Power Numbers came back to win with an 82 Beyer speed figure in his next start. Yeah. So I thought that this would be the day for him. But both of them have really had their chances already.
They have, and I don't have a problem with Cloud Forest. My thing about Shreveport is I'm not sure you're not being a little unfair. Because you look at him, I mean, he ran against Arturius, Gasoline, Win It. Those horses are all pretty good, and they had pretty good years so far. Arturius sort of fell apart. I think he's running. Is he running at Monmouth or something?
I think he's
Salvador
running at
Mile, maybe.
Yeah,
I feel like I saw his name. And then he comes back against Harrodsburg, who ran a 99
Very
Beyer in
quick
his next
early.
start. So I'm not really sure. Did we have a stat in this race? No. I'm not really sure that I want to convict him again because I feel like he met good horses. Then he's on then he's in an impossible spot sprinting. Then he goes to a dead rail, and I'm just not sure he's not a better horse that spots. And what I want to do, he's got the favorite, and David made him the favorite because Irad's riding for Todd, and he's got fast works. Did we show this stat? I didn't notice if we did. There's a terrible stat for Todd Pletcher, first-time starters in dirt routes at NYRA. He's just 2 for 25 with a 34-cent ROI, which does not inspire confidence on this horse. And it's not like he's that expensive, a Pioneer of the Nile.
No, and there's not a ton of pedigree. The Dam was grade 3 place. She was more of a dirt sprinter. Her only production so far was a horse that was 0 for 2 in Japan. Typically, I talk about this often, when the last 2 workouts are gate workouts, I always kind of wonder, does he have enough speed? What are we going to see him debuting as a 3-year-old? I'll be curious to see him on the track here. I have a theory with Phelpsy, though.
You're just a big Michael Phelps fan?
Well, yeah, I am.
I've met Michael Phelps.
Have you really?
I have.
That's pretty cool.
Nice guy.
His
Very
wife,
nice guy.
Was Miss California back in the day,
really?
actually. Yeah.
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 He was at an opening day Orioles game with us once.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Phelpsy, anyway, I think wants to go longer. I actually would like to see Phelpsy on the turf one day, physically. But anyway, he is a horse
Hear that, Chad? Turf.
Hear that.
The brains behind the Clement operation was turf.
The Dam is the sister to Giftless, who's the Dam of Dunbar Road. There's distance in the pedigree on the bottom side with the AP Indy. I'm intrigued by him stretching out.
He also improved immeasurably last time out. So we'll see. And Alternate Reality came back and won, albeit running 3 Beyer points lower. All right, that's first 5. The late pick 5 after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
We are back, Keisha and Andy, for the late pick 5, and thanks to our friends, of course, at Saratoga Springwater. Looking forward to getting up there. I'm going up there 3 weeks from today, a few days early. And of course, you're up there a lot of weekends.
Yes, yeah, every week.
Yeah. It's nice up
My
there,
dark
isn't
days.
it?
It's me
It's a
and
great time
all
of the
the
year.
horsemen doing the drive Sunday night from Belmont up to Saratoga.
It's so, Saratoga is such a funny town. There are a lot of times I go up fairly frequently to visit my mom. I'll walk downtown. My mom lives on Caroline Street, and in the winter, and I sort of close my eyes, and I think it's hard to imagine this is the same town you're in the summer, because it's cold, as most of you know, and a little bit snowy and icy, but it's a great town, of course, and we're looking forward to getting up there. But we still have plenty of good racing left to go at Belmont. And looking at race number 6, I guess the favorite in here is going to be Be Here, and I kind of wonder if you and I had the same opinion, which is, I get Be Here, ran against a better horse in Catnip last time. Didn't do any running at all with a rail trip. But I guess in this field, he's the horse to beat. But do you really want to take this horse at a short price?
No, it is a drop in class.
Big drop.
It's a significant drop, yes. But that said, like you said, didn't do much running there. And I thought that this was a horse who could kind of make sense coming back to New York. But that being said, Land Biscuit, I think, has an advantage tactically. Be Here has no more speed anymore. He's kind of just sluggish and just kind of runs in place.
I was thinking that if anybody's going to get position, not that but Trevor's going to be aware of that and probably get position. As far as Land Biscuit, will show the 6 furlong race and is picking up Javier. And this horse ran well in the 6 furlong race we're going to show in the Ballydooley race. Yep. And I know you could say he was picking up pieces. Yeah, he was to a certain extent. Having said that, he had no business running well at all in that race, to be honest. And the fact that he ran as well as he did is just a good sign as he stretches out to a distance that's just so far more suitable for him.
Yeah, truly. I think that he is a player in this spot. And he, like you said, he was off a layoff that day. He had a little bump at the start as well. He was further back than he typically is, albeit going longer. But I thought that he kind of overcame the odds in that race, too.
I agree. I just don't. I mean, it felt like they were sticking him in there to get a first race into him to get him going, and he actually ran well. I mean, I think Klickitat on paper, the 2, 4, and 5 are the only horses that have any semi-reliable turf form, and Klickitat at 9 furlongs, and I don't like the races he was running. They claim from Linda he didn't show up at all in that race. He got bet and he didn't do any running in there. He was a little bit wide, but I don't know the distance. And the problem with Healing, who has the back turf races at least, what the heck happened last time?
I know. I don't love him.
Because he's the fuzzy in here, right?
He's
kind of the horse you want to look at if you don't use the obvious.
I mean, you look back in his past performances, and he ran some very quick races on the turf.
Yeah.
The question is, does he still have it in him to run them today?
I don't know. And
I don't know either.
He was so bad last time. You almost think something may have gone wrong. We'll see what happens. Race number 7. I don't think there's any doubt in race number 7 who the horse to beat is here. And that's Mariachi, who you and I have second in here. We're going to show his last race, and I'm going to show you the stat that kept me away from him. But I'm going to tell you something. There's a chance that he's a legitimate 3-year-old stakes horse, and we're going to see he may be too good for these horses. This stat, which we'll show afterwards, sort of scared me. This horse is pretty good.
He ran very well behind General Banker, came back to win a stake in his subsequent start. That was back in his 2-year-old season. He was always traveling well in this race. I thought that I'm a big fan of the McLean's music too as a stallion, and really curious to see how he has done making his first start as a 3-year-old. But wow, oh wow,
He's
that
1
is
for
a big step.
24. He's 0 for 19 in sprints. It just seems like John's horses need a race off a layoff. Now, having said that, I don't think a lot of them looked as good as Mariachi did.
I think
And
he could be legit.
this horse is running mid-80 buyers in November. He could run a 93 in this race, and you wouldn't be surprised. And they won't know which way, he's just going to win for fun. He's just going to be too good for these. That scares me a little bit. The problem with Ocean's Reserve, as it shows replay, is he's not a winning type.
I know.
But I thought he ran very well last time, though he also got a tremendous ride from Javier. Suck up second.
did.
Yeah, but nobody else made up any ground.
No. That was my thought. And nobody was beating Defusky Island that day either. And he's been on a roll recently for Rudy Rodriguez.
He's got to be in the Morrissey next, right?
Yeah, he's been very, very good lately. And Ocean's Reserve wasn't that fast out of the gate this day. He looked pretty fit to me off the layoff. I was in the paddock for this race, but he got really hot, which sometimes is an indication of a horse that kind of needs a race. And yeah, he was clunking along on the outside, maybe you could say.
A fast race, though.
But yes, but I agree. I thought that there was definitely an argument that he could take a step forward second off the bench. And he has the recency, whereas Mariachi is making his first start off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with him is the 5 seconds. And
Right,
a lot of them
of
at short
course.
prices. And I'm sure he's a frustrating horse for Leah because he's pretty good.
Yeah,
But he's,
runs
listen,
well.
they've done well. They made plenty of money staying in the conditions.
Right.
But
I'm
he's-
sure she'd like to break through the
He's
condition
a
and
better
go on to the
horse
next
than
one.
that.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Mariachi, I'm glad to see you back. I remember when Mariachi ran the first time, I ran to Kendrick in the hallway at Aqueduct where we see each other, we're so close to everybody. And he said, I love that horse first year I'm riding, and he was in the 6th race.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I didn't even know he was talking at the time, and I said, oh, great, good luck, or whatever. And I walked away, and I looked, and he was running against Don't Lose Cruz, and I
Yeah.
said, I don't think Kendrick knows who he's running against.
Right.
Don't Lose Cruz was very, very good that time, but he was right. He was on the goods. He just ran to a horse that
Yeah.
had a little more
Very good
experience
ride.
and was better. So race number 8. We'll get to the inside. This is a funny race because I think right away
I
you've
had
got.
such a tough time with this race.
Well, I want to bet against Exact Estimate. I'm not saying he's not the horse to beat. I get it. We'll show his last race. Catnip is okay.
Yep.
Now keep in mind, he's coming out of the same race that the horse that we talked about before in the 25 claimer, Be Here, was in there, right? Was he? Yeah, he
Yep.
was in that race.
Yep.
He was not in that race. Different, same horse.
Same horse.
Different
It
race.
was the
Same
Catnip
horse.
came back to win
Right.
in his
This is
next race,
Keeneland.
and that was the start. Yes.
It's Chad Brown and Irad Ortiz. You're like guaranteed no better than 6 to 5.
That's true.
And the horse doesn't have a lot of speed. There's not a ton of pace.
He was off slow and then got headstrong
Yeah,
in this race, too.
I just don't want to default to this horse. I get that he's kind of the horse to beat. I don't know. Is he really that good?
I thought that his win at Gulfstream was fine. He
Was
came
okay.
back. The fact that he was off slow and then got a little bit headstrong, and I think all things considered, Tyler Gaffleone did a really good job getting him in stride late, and
Fair.
he just missed behind a horse that has talent. But yes, all of those things are going to make him into a shorter price. And his 2 turf races are both good. But that said, I think that he's meeting some horses who could potentially take a step forward. I mean, I ended up going with Ambote.
Just because you wanted to say Ambute?
I did.
That's
Ambote. I love the name. I think it's really clever, out of Dancing Shoes. It is a step in ballet as
Yeah,
well.
I got that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just always
In case
like
you
to
missed
remind
that.
you of that. But that said, I
The
thought,
ballerina here.
yes.
The ballerina that's sitting next to me. Where did you go wrong? Go
Well,
ahead. Why don't we
I
show the
ask
replay
myself
while
that
Case is talking about
sometimes, too.
Ambute, and I agree.
Ambote and
kind of horse
Shutters
to
come
beat.
out of the same race. Shutters was sold since then. He
For
was
only
sold
60,000.
For 60,000, which I thought was a little interesting as
On
well.
the low side. He can't see he has trouble staying sound. I wonder
He
if that's
does,
what it
yeah.
really is.
I wonder if that was kind of a big piece of it too. But you did have, you did have the horse in the cheek pieces. I'm blanking on his name. He's running a bunch of graded stakes, so high on the pace up there, and you saw Shutters and. Ambote closing. Ambote kind of broke in and was in the 2 path. He kind of made the first move and then didn't have enough late. But he's a horse that I've always thought has a little bit of ability.
Shouldn't Manny just put him on the lead?
Yes, absolutely. I know you love Dancing with the Stars, and I think this is a better distance for him. I just thought that Ambote could potentially find
I
himself
want you
in
to know
the
I've
right
never
spot.
watched Dancing with the Stars. I don't think this should surprise you. The show
No, it
Dancing with the
doesn't.
Stars.
I
I've
watched
never
it at
watched
the
it.
beginning.
Never
it's a
seen
little bit
it.
old now. For me.
Really?
Yeah.
Because people will say,
been
like,
going on for
I
a
know that
long
person
time.
from dance. Somebody was talking
Dancing
about.
with the Stars.
Oh,
yeah.
I think Emmett Smith was at the Derby.
He was.
And somebody said, I know
was on
him
Dancing
from
with the Stars,
Dance with
yeah.
the Stars. And I
Well,
said,
it was
I
kinda
actually
cool
know
when
him from
it
football.
first started, because when it first started, I was so very much involved in dancing, and so I knew a lot of the professionals that were going on the show.
Oh, really?
Yes, which
Oh, that's
is really cool. Like Tony Dovolani, I mean, I had known since I was a child and was
that's
like
cool.
really close friends with my mom and stuff like that, you know. So that was kind of fun to watch, you know, at the beginning.
As far as Dancing with the Stars, I think a lot of people are going to look at him and say, oh, he only wins in Saratoga. And maybe he's a horse who sort of rounds into form
At
as we
that
get up
time.
there. It's almost like Dominic sort of trains in that manner to get him there. He's also a horse that wants less distance.
Yes.
And Dominic found the perfect race for a prep for him off a layoff, running him 11 furlongs to get a little bit of exercise into him. And I just think the mile distance is going to suit him really well in here. And he's got a chance at the mile up here at Belmont, and he'll be a little bit better price. I kind of like the 3 like you do, but I thought the 1 would be a better price. I'm not wildly against the 7, but the point about
No,
the 7 is
I'm with you.
you're just in a position where you have to bet against these horses. You can't. I don't care if you really like a horse and the horse is supposed to be 8 to 5 to 2 to 1. It goes off at even money. You got to bet it. You can't bet those horses. And what's going on right now here at NYRA is it is very hard to win. It's hard to win at the racetrack in general. It's gotten harder over the time as people become more sophisticated, the betting money in the pools. But in the win pools here, where there's a dearth of CAW money, they are massively overbetting Irad Ortiz, and the value to be found here. For instance, that race yesterday where Bruce Levine won, and the
Sunset
7 and
Louise.
10,
Yeah.
the 3, the Chad Brown horse, that horse should have been
Guns and Graces.
Guns and Graces should have been a clear-cut third choice.
Right.
Clear-cut.
Right.
That horse was 3 to 2, and it's because it was Chad and Irad.
Yeah.
And that horse
Stage
should
Raider,
never
the
have
same
been
thing
favored.
happened the
Stage
other
Raider,
day.
even money.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that Chad and Irad sold us at even money, and probably I'd like we're wondering if they were looking at the right horse. I mean, his form was extremely questionable. They're just sending it in on Irad all the time. He's a terrific rider,
Yes.
but the value is not there, and you've got to look in other places and try to find value in other places. And it's worked. There were a lot of times it didn't work. I would point out they'd win anyway.
Yeah.
But this week it's certainly been working.
This is a good thing about NYRA, though, too, is that, yes, Irad's a terrific rider, and he's leading rider, but there's a pretty deep bench when it comes to the jockey colony here, too. I think you'll still be in good hands.
I was talking about this with somebody,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who, the other day, a trainer, and saying, of these owners that are obsessed about riding one guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I said there's 6 guys in the room that you're fine with. I mean, I get wanting Ira. I get all
he's
those
terrific,
things, but
yeah. It's just the price. If you're betting, you're going to have to accept the fact that you're going to have a lower price than that horse should potentially be.
And even Irad at times has asked me, why is this horse I'm running such a short price? Or why is he the morning line favorite? And it's like Speaking of Irad, it's funny. Richie and I were having a discussion about this yesterday in the show. I have to look at my phone because I didn't bring up my replay thing, so I'm rolling through it. Goodnight Olive. Whether it was as we switch over, and I'm excited about the Bed of Roses. I'm really looking forward to this,
it's
and I think
fun.
you are too. We'll be on together, actually.
Yes,
you and
we
I are
will.
on from 4 to 6. That's a
late
very
shift.
rare late shift for you.
I know. I'm
up here at
reporting
least.
early and then on the desk late.
I say, Richie's probably more right than me. Right? Richie says it's more of an unlucky ride than a bad ride. My criticism is, could Irad have seen this coming earlier, or should he have been more aggressive early to be able to get off of the inside, or did he just get unlucky? Maybe a combination of both. Maybe Richie's more right. Just
I was
unlucky.
going to say, I think a combination of both. The thing is that you could see Tyler Gaffleone, who rode Wicked Halo, the gray filly, last time. He was so aware of where Goodnight Olive was the whole time. He was glued to her pretty much from the beginning of the race. And you have to give Tyler credit because he wasn't beating Monterey, but he got second in a grade 1 with Wicked Halo. And it was a smart ride. And look, I get it. I know he also rides for Chad. I know he's close with the Ortiz brothers.
They have to
but
try to ride to
that's
win.
what you do as a rider. You're not going to let the favorite and the champion out if you feel like you've still got some horse. If you're fading, then that makes sense. But if you feel like you've got horse, you cannot let her off the rail. And I thought he did a terrific job with that. At that point, you want to save ground. You can say Irad Ortiz maybe could have been a bit more aware with Goodnight Olive. But if he gets a little bit of space and slips up the inside, does he win? Does he beat Monterey? Does it then become a brilliant ride?
Well, no, because my argument against that is when you're riding the best horse, especially in any race, frankly, I don't care if it's a $20,000 maiden claiming race or a grade 1, you still have to ride those horses like the best horse. And when you draw an inside post and you know you have a target on your back, you want to try to do what you can to mitigate it. And I think in this race, knowing what happened last time, she's not slow.
No.
You got to leave a little bit. You got to try to hope to make it go fast enough to get some separation.
Right to her outside.
You know, think about the race yesterday that Johnny won for Wesley Ward. You kind of knew that Johnny wanted to let the 7 go.
Yep.
One thing John Velasquez does not want to do is get into a, and he's right. I mean this in a very positive way. Get into a protracted speed duel in a turf sprint where he's the one on the inside.
Yeah.
And you kind of, but he left and he went like he was going to do that, making Torres in the 7, knowing how fast she is, that they would extend away from the field, go around, and he'd get to sit on the outside. Now, it's not as simple as doing that here, and Begin is the speed outside, and we'll get to her. But I think Irad is going to have to want to move it up a little bit so that he can get that position, because I know drawing the rail, and one thing I've talked about also that I loved, the next race after that race at Churchill.
Yeah.
When Irad split horses on Fluffy Socks to win and beat Tyler on Spenderella, who was the heavy favorite. And Irad was like, I mean, you would have thought it was the most important race on Derby Day, right? The way he was, and I thought it was really great. It's like, gotcha, you know, that was, to me, that was so cool. I love the competition within the competition.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's, but and let me say something else. Goodnight Owl is very good.
She is.
But I'm not open to the possibility that she's not as good as she's a champion and deservedly so, but she hasn't run the kind of figures that say she's unbeatable.
No, I agree with that. And you and I are both trying to go against her today. I absolutely think that she has a lot of talent. I don't know if we're seeing her kind of quite up in that elite level. And now she's a 5-year-old. I know that she won the Madison. She did so
I thought she ran
easily.
well that day. She may have moved up a little early and still finished. Yep.
And then you like to see that there's something left in the tank from there, too. We know what happened with the Derby City Distaff. She's obviously a huge player in this division. But I think this is a pretty interesting and salty division.
I agree. I think it's potentially much deeper this year than last year.
Yes.
I think what she has going for, though, is 7. I think 7.
She loves 7 for
gives
long.
her Wicked Halo's run okay at 7. I think she's a better 7 than Wicked Halo is, though I respect that Wicked Halo's improved. As far as Dr. B and Caramel Swirl, we'll watch the last half mile of the race. You can say that Irad was unlucky last time. This was not Irad's fight, and I'm not trying to beat up, but this was not his best moment. Dr. B, who he had ridden so well by being aggressive in her prior start, he was so passive in here. He got shuffled back to last.
He was second, and then he was last. Yeah. I know. And I love Dr. B. I have an affection for her, and I think you do, too. And she's one that I actually also think will benefit going the 7 furlongs. And I don't think Kendrick Carmouche is going to be passive with her. I think that she will be
second to
forward. Yes, exactly. And then all of a sudden, you see she gets pushed out a little bit by Caramel Swirl, who, to be fair, Caramel Swirl ran very well this day. And
she's good, and she could win today.
She is good, absolutely. Bill Mott told me after the race that he would have won her a little bit sooner after that Tampa mishap, but she had a foot abscess that kept her on the sidelines.
Was that what happened at Tampa, the foot abscess?
It was sometime in between February and May.
Because that was a debacle. That's probably the worst race she ever ran.
Right.
Other than when Junior took her to the outside against the Gold Rail at Charlestown.
Right.
I bet the winner. I'm not complaining.
But she has talent too. Was the vagrancy an indication that she's taken a step forward and she's kind of back to some of those big races that she's run?
But she has a gap to close on Goodnight Olive, who's better than her. But I'm a big Caramel Swirls fan. I agree. I don't want to get caught up and say just because Dr. B was unlucky in there, the Caramel Swirl can't win this race because she can.
Yeah.
But I agree. And listen. The Go for Juan was a faster race, and a lot of it was pace related than the Cigar Mile. That's how good it was. And I also think about Dr. B. She runs her best races when they're aggressive with her. I mean, you look at some of the races when they're forward with her and they're aggressive, she really seems to respond. So I'd like to see her more aggressive today. I'll tell you something. I don't even think Begin is without a chance in this race. We'll take a look at the last race, and she's going to go to the front. I don't know that she's good enough, but I don't know that she's not.
Look, she is going to be the one that's going to leave there running. I mean, she's got a lot of speed. She's been on the lead going a mile and 16th and going 6 furlongs. And Javier Castellano, you know what the game plan's going to be with her. And she breaks sharply, too. She has gate speed. It's not like, some horses that are speed. They kind of break with the field and then they rush up. She is fast.
She's fast out of the gate. I agree.
Yeah.
I like her. I'm a big fan of Ned Allard. We think does a
Yep,
great
he
job,
does.
and I'm looking forward to see what she does. This is the best running the Bed of Roses I can
Fantastic,
really
yeah.
ever remember.
You can genuinely make a case for all of them.
I agree. We could have 3 or 4 horses with no chance that would make it a worse race, not a better race. Race number 10. I struggled for replays here, so let's show Quick Power Nap in her last win. And the question with her is when she was effective, she was forward. And good luck to her getting the lead in this race with horses like Fast Corey and
Yeah.
Feligny in here. Feligny or whatever her name is.
We'll have to ask. I don't know if this is a wine. I know Jim
Fellini?
Bond.
Fellini? Maybe it's like
Fellini, maybe?
like that,
Richie
yeah.
probably knows. But you see, she's a little quirky. She likes to drift. This is what she did a couple of times. And I know Rudy, who since has claimed her, has kind of played around with different types of bits on her because she's a little bit quirky in the way she kind of tends to lug out. But luckily, she was clear in that race. She hasn't been able to run on the turf since. All 3 of her races have been on the grass. So this is her first time getting back to the turf. But I agree. I think she's better when she's forward.
So you've got the horse I scratched into for second because I had actually liked Rosemary Tato. This is my second choice in here. Talk about rum runner ready. Just gave up at this point. 10th race, the old 10th race give up.
Let me just circle this one, call it a day. No, she looked at me last time. I wish she ran a little bit in the stretch, but she does come out of the starter into the 30,000 non-winners of 2
7, a little
here.
far.
Yes, I agree. A little bit far. She kind of got a little high-headed last time, which said to me that she just was exhausted in the latter stages of the race. So hoping that this will be the right spot for her.
I like Mostly Harmless. I think you take apart some of her turf races. She actually ran pretty well. That race at Belmont, the horses are a little bit better than these. Lady Firefoot, the Crowded Out race, who was a drop down. She actually should have been second in that race. She had significant trouble in there. And I just thought she's run well enough in her races. And frankly, her dirt races right now are as good, if not better, than some of the ones she ran around her turf races. So I thought she made sense in here as a horse.
I like Smokin' Hot Kitty cutting back in distance.
Okay.
with the
You know,
blinkers on.
I don't disagree with that. I think she's better going shorter. And I guess she's fast enough to win.
She's just not the best, but I think shorter is going to be the best spot for her.
Fair enough. That's the first. That's our 10-race card. Occasionally I'll be on America's Day at the Races. Though really at this point we could call it Belmont Live, though we're going to be at Canterbury on Wednesday night.
Yes, Paula Ducal will be there for the, I know it's the Mystic Lake Derby.
It is the
and
Mystic
we had
Lake
a lot of
Derby.
fun covering that day last year.
I watched it
Yeah.
last year. I think it
a
was
lot
up
of
in
fun.
Saratoga, actually.
Yeah.
I think I watched it
good
on
time.
Sean's porch. It was actually kind of cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was. It was cool.
Well, nice little viewing spot.
All right, head over to Naira Bets. We're done. You're just getting to work here. Kyle's waking up. Use the promo code bonus200.
Today.
I want snacks. 4 snacks later, Kyle. All right, 4 to 6. We want snacks. What? Use $25 bonus on the 75 to win on Belmont. $75 total at Belmont, Ellis, and Santa Anita. Give you $25 win or lose as you opt in over at Naira Bets. Middle pick 4, race number 4 of our 10-race card. So 2, 4, and 7 for the pick 4s today. We have games. Go to free2, the number 2 play.nairabets.com. No registration required. Sign up, or not have to sign up. Head on over there. Check them out. Real prizes. Father's Day tomorrow. Always a fun day out here at Belmont Park. Supposed to be a great day. It's a beautiful day today as well. We got the duffel bag giveaway that everybody but me apparently has been asked to model. I don't know how I'm going to take.
Maybe you'll have your
I don't know
chance
how I'm
later
going to take
today.
over for Vanna if I don't get any
That's
opportunities
true.
to
You need
model
some experience.
the giveaways here. I don't want to give any ideas in Saratoga. I don't want to model giveaways in Saratoga. And America's Day at the Races. Got it 1 to 2 on FS2, 2 to 4 on FS1, 440 to 6 on FS2. That gap. If you're not be able to watch a regional, you can catch us on YouTube as well. I think we'll just miss the 7th race, or you'll miss us for 45. We're done. Keisha, thanks. Great job as always. Johnny I just getting started. Reprise the scratches and changes. Have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by